When you analyze processes or product stages in SimaPro, you arrive at the results window that offers a number of options to view and interpret your results. In this video, we will be taking a closer look at the Network tab of the results window and exploring some of the functions it offers. For this example, we will be using the sample project Introduction to SimaPro 7, where a coffee machine model Sima has already been modeled. Let's start by going to Product Stages, Assembly, Coffee Machine Demo, and clicking on Assembly Model Sima Plastic. Click Network and then Calculate to arrive at the Network tab of the results window. Here you see a graphical representation of your model. So for Assembly Model Sima, you can see the underlying subassemblies and processes, including the links between them. Now let's take a closer look at some of the features of this tab. With the indicator type filter, you can select which indicator, substance, or product flow is represented by the thermometers in the nodes below. So depending on your selection, the value of the indicator and the corresponding thermometer will change. Right now, the indicator is set to show the single score. Let's explore what that means and what happens if we select another indicator. You can use the single score indicator to investigate the overall environmental load. The single score is a way of presenting the weighted results. So if you take a closer look at the thermometers and indicator values, you can see how many points each process contributes to the overall environmental load of the assembly model Sima. For example, we can see that polypropylene has the largest contribution to the environmental load. Now let's explore the inventory indicator. You can use this indicator to investigate the flow of a single substance. When you select inventory, a window will pop up where you can select any of the substances included in your model. Select a substance, for example, carbon dioxide emissions, and the network will now show processes and product stages that contribute to CO2 emissions. The thermometers and indicator values in every process node now reflect the CO2 emissions in kilograms. You may notice that the assembly and subassembly nodes show the indicator as being 0. This is because when you create your model in SimaPro, emissions to air are entered at the process level. So far, we've explored only 2 of the possible 7 indicator options. Using other indicators, you can take a closer look at a specific damage or impact category, or the flow of a single product. Try to take time to experiment with all the different indicators. Let's go back to the indicator single score and click the Show Cumulated Indicators button. This button allows you to see the flow indicator as an aggregated result. If you now look at the thermometer of the top node, Assembly Model Sima, it will be completely filled. This represents the sum of the contributions of the underlying processes. In this case, the contribution of these 4 subassemblies. Only when this button is selected can you use the Show Indicator as percentage button in order to show the relative contributions in percentages. Click the Show Cumulated Indicators button again, and you will notice that the thermometers now show the absolute contribution per process. The Show Flow Indicator in Line Width button allows you to create a Sankey diagram. This means that the thickness of the flow lines correspond to their environmental load. The thicker the line, the larger the impact of that flow. This makes it easier to identify the hotspots in your model. For example, at a glance, we can see that the housing contributes the most to the environmental load of model Sima. And this is largely due to the use of polypropylene. If you deselect this function, flow lines will be represented by identical arrows throughout the model. Let's take a look at the Show Process or Product Stage and Calculation Details button. This function allows you to look at the content of any node showing in your network. Once you click the button, you will get a floating window that contains details of the process or product stage that is currently selected. So if you select a different process, the details of that process will now be presented in that window. This way you can also quickly analyze the impact assessment of the individual nodes. If you click the Show Input and Output Flows button, you will get a floating window that contains information on the flows in and out of the selected process or product stage. If you select another node, the information in the window will change automatically. Similarly, if you double-click on any flow within the window, the corresponding node will be highlighted. In some cases, you will notice flows that are gray or inactive. This means that this particular flow is not currently shown in your network. If you adjust the cutoff percentage to 0, for example, that process will now be shown. For the final part of this video, let's take a look at some of the options to play around with how your network looks. Right-click the background area to get a number of options. For example, you can change the thickness of the flow lines. You can also change node colors. Click Colors and a number of options will appear to select the color of a node, borders, and flows. Let us change assembly to green, for example. Now all assembly nodes are filled with green instead of blue. However, you will need to refresh the legend for it to show the new color. Right-click on a node for more display options. You can choose to show or remove thermometers, amounts, names, or even indicator values. Please note that any selection you make here will affect all nodes in your network. Finally, you may want to use your network image in a report or edit it in another program. In that case, you can either save the image or copy it. To save an image, go to File, Export, and choose the file format you want the image to be saved in. You can also simply copy and paste the network to another application. Use Edit Copy or the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-C to copy the image to the clipboard.